Hey everybody, it's Carrie Hoffmeister with Carrie on Abundant TV. I am super excited today to have on Anna Pearson. Anna, thanks for chatting with me today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
You
It's
know,
great to
I,
be here.
I need like intro
You
music.
know,
I feel like
I
like
need to, yeah, just like little confetti going everywhere.
yeah, that would be awesome. So I met Anna at Unity Fest. I say Unity like everybody knows what that is, but it's a Christian music festival in Muskegon, Michigan. And I didn't have her. I was interviewing a lot of people that week. I didn't have you on there. When you were on, I'm sure you remember meeting my friend that was with me who chatted with you in the
Yeah.
she's actually my pastor's wife.
Oh, nice,
We're
nice.
super close, Shonda, and she's like so into music and just appreciates good music. And so you were on, and she's like, oh, like she had her phone, and she's like, oh, like this is just how she is. I gotta look up this girl, and she's like, every song you're singing, she's like adding it to her playlist.
Oh,
She
that's
has
so
like
sweet.
different playlists for every like phase in her life.
That's amazing. I have some friends like that too.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I just play like my most like stuff all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
She's like, oh, this is going into this one, and this is going into this one. And so we were in the,
Wow, that's such an honor.
yes, she loved you. And so we were in the like the merch tent, and Anna was in there with her merch. And I don't know if you saw us, but we were literally standing in front of you for like 3 minutes of Shonda, like, do I talk to her? Do I not talk to her? And I was like, just say hi, like just talk to her. And I said, if you talk to her,
Oh,
then
that's so
I'll talk
sweet.
to her about having her on the show. So she wanted you to be on the show. So
Oh, y'all are too
Anna,
kind. Wow, I need to like write her a thank you note. Just a shout out of
oh, that's
That's
like
so
her
sweit.
love language. If you did that,
Oh.
she would literally be like, oh, like that's how
Oh
she.
my goodness, that's awesome.
Okay. So we start off the show with what we call Carrie on the questions. She
Mhm.
did say that she watched some other interviews, so she's prepared. So
A
I'm a
little
little
bit, a little bit.
worried.
Not too, I want to be just fresh, straight on. So I'll.
That's good. That's good. Okay. So yeah, so rapid fire questions. First thing that comes into your head, okay?
Okay, I got my thinking cap on, ready.
Pumpkin spice or caramel?
Caramel for sure.
Really?
Wow, caramel.
Caramel.
Yeah, I'm not really a pumpkin
Caramel.
spice girl.
You're not a pumpkin spice girl.
Not really. I don't know. I take it like in little pieces in the fall, but I don't know. I'm more of a caramel person.
Okay. Favorite movie as a child?
Oh, as a child,
Yeah.
honestly, probably Shrek. I watched
Really?
these so many times as a kid.
I still love that movie.
I do too.
How would your best friend describe you?
Hmm. I don't know. I guess adventurous. I'm a big outdoorsy girl, so I always usually say that when I'm not playing music, I'm playing outside. So probably just always down for an adventure. And I just try to I just love listening to people too. I'm not a huge talker, so I just love to be there for people and listen to them. So maybe I should say that. I don't know.
That's good. What is the biggest obstacle you're currently facing?
Hmm. Currently figuring out what to eat every night. I know that's kind of goofy, but so I got married, I guess it's been a little over like 2.5 years ago. But my husband and I sometimes we'll just look at each other and be like, we got to figure out what we have to eat every single night for the rest of our lives. So that's kind of a goofy obstacle, but
It is hard.
figuring out adulthood. I'm gonna be 24 next week, so
Oh,
just
happy
I
birthday.
thank you. But I don't know, still figuring out adulthood and kind of like what we were talking about before we hopped on the interview, just that's kind of more of a serious obstacle, but managing my time in a way that really honors the Lord and I'm able
Yeah.
to give my best to everything that I do. So I'd say that's a more prevalent obstacle for sure.
I think too, in learning like that, in doing that, you're actually being what you like are supposed to be for God. And that
Yeah.
was the biggest thing for
Yeah.
me to learn is like that getting rest for yourselves. Like when you're running and like just being purely exhausted, like I get really crabby and just like
Yeah.
irritable,
Me
and
too.
I'm not giving it my all. And I've learned that being able to set those boundaries, I think boundaries is like the biggest thing of okay, like I can't fill everybody's cup.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I'm doing it empty. And so yeah, so that's a big thing.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
What's one lesson you learned from your biggest failure? I went deep on these.
Ooh, yeah, these are good. Okay. I don't know have to think about that. I don't know. I would just kind of going back on that. That's a big part of my testimony is just I don't know, especially during college, I felt like I was getting so busy for God that I was missing him in the process.
Hmm.
And I think it's so easy to do that nowadays and just check off boxes. And I was going to all these like Christian conferences and clubs and anything that was faith related, I was involved in, or I was like leading music. But I was feeling so empty inside because I was just missing God and all of that. And I would say that was probably the biggest life lesson that I've learned is that it's not about checking off boxes. It's not about somebody else's living someone else's faith through them. It's a personal relationship with the Lord. Like that's where everything stems from. And I still have to kind of gut check myself every once in a while now too, and just realize that I don't know, just go back to the foundation of why am I doing everything that I do? It has to come from a place of sincerity with the Lord and that he is filling everything that you need. And then everything else is an overflow of that. So I think that's an ongoing lesson that the Lord has just continually taught me. But I'd say definitely in college, that was a huge turning point for me, was reaching kind of that bottom and just realizing that like God was all I needed. So
That's so good. That is really good. Thanks for sharing that.
yeah. And I can go
Yeah,
more into all that stuff later on too, but that's kind of the heart of my story. And I don't know.
yeah, we'll definitely dig deeper into your story too. I feel like I got really deep into these rapid fire questions. So,
Hey, that's all right. I'm ready. I'm ready.
okay, maybe this is a little bit lighter. If you could learn any language in a week, what would it be?
Hmm. I have a lot of Danish and Swedish heritage, so maybe like
Okay.
Danish. Well, that's kind of a random one, but my grandmother on my dad's side spoke some Danish, so it would be cool to
That's
learn
cool.
some of that language. So,
Yeah. Name one person who inspires you.
hmm. Wow, there's so many. I don't know.
You
I'll
can
say my
name it.
mom. My mom. I played music with her a ton
Oh,
during like middle school and high school. We played in a duo around Nashville, and I'd say just my parents both collectively really inspire me. Just from they've always been such big encouragers for me, and never they loved music themselves, but they never forced it on me. They never said like you have to learn an instrument, you have to they let me just explore it myself. And I think that's why I really fell in love with music the way I did and fell in love with creating and they're both just so spiritually rooted as well. And I think that's just always been a huge inspiration to me.
that's awesome. I love that. If you could be a character in a TV show, what character would you want to be?
Ooh, these are such good questions. Um, I don't know. I've been watching The Office a little bit recently.
Okay.
Maybe I don't know. It's just so ridiculous. It's a good like wind
I
down
love The Office. Yeah.
show at the end of the night, but I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of a kindred spirit with Pam on that show.
I
So
love that.
I'll say that I'm kind of quiet and I don't
Uh,
know.
I love it. Mine would definitely be Lorelai Gilmore from Gilmore Girls.
Oh, nice,
Yeah,
nice.
that's like my all-time favorite show.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, last question that I ask everybody, which you may have probably heard, so you can learn from Ben Fuller's answer.
Oh.
Who is your favorite person that has ever interviewed you?
Oh, you for sure. For sure.
Yeah,
Definitely.
good job. There's one thing you learned from Ben Fuller, it's that.
That's great. That's a great
Uh,
ending question.
You know what's funny is most people catch on that it's like, a funny question, but there's a couple
They start really thinking like,
like, oh man. And they sit there for forever. And I'm like,
that's great.
this
You're like,
is funny
okay,
question.
come on.
Like,
That's
okay. All right, Anna. So we're just gonna go back to a little bit of your background, and feel free to share whatever you want to share, but just how you grew up and your love for music when that came about, and if this is always something that you wanted to do, and just kind of the journey going into where you are now.
yeah, for sure. So I was born and raised in Nashville, and I always kind of attribute a lot of my love for music to just being in that super creative, ridiculous music environment. And so I fell in love with music at a very early age. And I started writing songs and playing guitar at about 8 years old. My mom was the music teacher at my elementary school, and she
Oh,
started
wow.
teaching this after school guitar class. And since I was her daughter, she just said, "Well, if you want to be in it, come on along." So that's kind of what started me in guitar. But then I just started exploring writing songs for fun about that time too. But as I got older, I kept writing. I don't know, I started kind of developing my sound more, writing more reflective life songs and all kind of positive and family friendly stuff. But it wasn't until about high school that I went to public school all throughout, and in high school there was this Christian club that had just gotten started at the school, and they needed somebody to help lead worship. So I was the guitar player and a lot of stuff, and helped the team out. But shout out to those guys. They really exposed me to a lot of great Christian songwriters. And I don't know, I had been writing this kind of storytelling style, and then I was started listening to these other storytellers that were using their music as an offering to the Lord. And I just was so inspired by that um, all throughout high school. And that's kind of how I just started really admiring and respecting Christian music and the Christian music world. But yeah, like kind of like I mentioned, to coincide with my faith story as well. Like I said, I was raised in a very spiritually rooted family. My granddad was a preacher for over like 60 or 70 years. Just all very, very much so in love with the Lord. And I'm very grateful for that kind of foundation because it exposed me to the gospel at such a young age. And so I had decided to follow Jesus at 11 years old at my home church's little wooden altar. But as I got older, like I was saying, I started getting so busy for God, especially throughout college, that I was just completely missing him in the process. And um, I felt so alone in that season. And I finally got to a point where I just called out to God and said, Lord, I'm doing all these things that are in your name, but I need you at the end of the day. Like all of this other stuff, it might be good. It's not necessarily bad, but it's not what is filling my whole purpose of life. And it was in that moment, it was just like, I can so vividly remember it. It was like Jesus just ripped open this jail cell that was around my heart. And he said, I found you.
Oh.
And I don't know, it was like that whole time he had been right there and was just waiting for me to call back out to him. And it was such a sweet reminder to my spirit that he is closer than a friend, and he's never gonna force himself on you. And even though he knows what's best for you, he's gonna let you want that yourself. And that has been just such a, I don't know, such an inspiring time of my life, just realizing how much he truly does care for me and wants me to just choose him myself. And so I don't know, I think it took me going through that to for him to allow me to start writing Christian music again, and just kind of weaving those storytelling styles and like folky kind of music into this thing that you all have heard. And I don't know, it's been a beautiful adventure so far. I've always grown up around music, and I've always loved playing live. Like I said, I played a ton in around Nashville, around the Southeast as a kid, but I think I always kind of questioned whether or not I wanted to do this as my just kind of full-time ministry thing. And I kind of dabbled in the industry side of music and gone back and forth with that. But I'd say in just the past year and a half or so, I've just kind of dove headfirst into the creative side. And it's been so beautiful and so fulfilling knowing that it's coming from a place of just sincerity and intimacy with the Lord. And I don't know where he's taken me. I'm not really as much concerned about the amount of people that hear my music. I just, somebody out there, it might be just one person that needs to hear something that impacted my life, that I just love sharing my stories and songs from my faith journey, but also yeah, just reflecting on the goodness of the Lord. And I don't know, that's kind of the weaving through all the different layers of life. And I'm still very much, sometimes people ask me my testimony, and I just always say that it's ever growing every single day, because the Lord is just showing me so many new ways of his faithfulness and his goodness, and looking back on your life and seeing all the dots that connected to lead you to right now, and then knowing that those dots are still leading in the future. So I don't know.
I love that. I have so many thoughts going through my head because one, I never looked at it that way before, but I have absolutely done that, where it's like you are fired up for God, you're doing all the things for God, but you're totally missing him in the moment. And then I was thinking like, man, that can actually like bleed into anything in our lives. So like in your marriage with your kids, like sometimes I get so busy with them, but I'm completely missing them. And
yeah.
that was just a really, really good reminder. But also, you know, with your testimony, it's funny because like your testimony is with God. So it's like you were fired up for God, but your testimony is realizing like you were missing him in that moment. And I was just thinking how I've had a conversation recently with somebody who felt that they didn't want their testimony to be on a pedestal of people saying, wow, like God did this huge thing in their life. Why isn't God doing this huge thing in my life? And just how God can work in any part of our lives, no matter like what that testimony is. It doesn't have to be something huge that he does, but we all have a story, whether we don't have a huge story or we don't. Like God still uses us in incredible ways. So I just appreciate you sharing that, because that's just a beautiful reminder, I think, for so many people that are just doing all the things and, you know, but why don't I feel close to him? Like I'm doing all these things, but why don't I feel that like presence with him? So that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And it's a constant, it's an everyday just reminder of, because I still have a tendency to do those things. I get super excited and like getting to lead worship places and play festivals and play music out places that I just always have to remind myself to step away and spend time with the Lord, and make sure that that is where everything stems from. And like I said, I'm a huge outdoorsy fan, so that's a huge part of my story as well, is just going out into the woods. And I don't know, I kind of think of my whole goal with music is I can't necessarily go to where you are and invite you on a hike and just get out into the wilderness and spend time with the Lord, but I don't know, I just hope that my music kind of brings that feeling to you, of just helping people stop and reflect on life and where your priorities are, and just making sure that you're living every day with purpose.
Yeah. And I think too, it's a reminder of that our identity isn't in the things we do for Christ, but just in our relationship with him. So like, you know, whether it's you want to go to all the Christian concerts because that's where you feel God and you feel his presence, but also remembering that it's our own personal walk with him.
Absolutely.
Is that relationship. That's really, that's so, that's just really great. So what are your musical influences then? Because you do have a folky sound, but it's really, I was gonna say it's really good. That sounds really bad. But
Oh,
I
thanks.
it's like kind of like calming, easy listening,
Mhm.
country, folky, like
Yeah, yeah.
I really, really love it. So
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
like what are who are your musical inspirations?
Well, growing up, I listened to a lot of the just great Americana storytellers. So like James Taylor, Bonnie Raitt, like that whole crew. So that inspired a lot of my musical um tastes and writing. I just loved how they told stories and they just put a new perspective on
Yeah.
something maybe that you've heard before, but it's told in a different way. And I think I just always have really appreciated that kind of style of songwriting. And then as I got older, I really started listening to like Matthew West and I Am They. And I just remember especially my mom and I went to, I think it was like a live taping of Matthew West's Into the Light album and somewhere near Nashville. And I think at that point I'd only heard Strong Enough by him. And that album is super story heavy. So he had taken a lot of these people's testimonies and turned them into songs. And I remember that whole night I was just like bawling through some of the songs, being so in awe of the power of a story. And um, I don't know, I've taken a lot of inspiration from a lot of different styles, but I think I fall back most on that folky storytelling Americana kind of thing. And the songs that I've released so far, I don't know, they've been kind of a reflection of my own faith journey. And, but I also just am writing a lot of stuff now that is just reflective on the Lord and his faithfulness. And yeah.
Aw. Well, you have a new single that came out June 16th, which was Power Again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that song, but then also, what do you have coming up? So do you have an album that's going to be coming out or an EP or
Yeah,
tour?
I have a another single coming out in October, which I'll be announcing that date soon. I'm just finalizing stuff with my team, but yeah, so super excited about that. And it's actually called Find Me, and it's really reflective of like what I was talking about earlier of
Yeah.
how the Lord just found me in that moment. And yeah, so it's a lot of my kind of story through these songs that I've released so far, and eventually working up to an EP probably next year. And I don't know, yeah, we'll see. I've got a lot of songs that I've written and just trying to condense them into an album and working through that process. But
That's cool. So if you could open up for anyone, who would it be that you would choose?
oh, I don't know. I'm a huge We the Kingdom fan too.
Oh,
I love
yeah,
their
they're so
style.
good.
I know that when I found out I was playing the night that We the Kingdom was headlining at Unity, I was like, oh yes, so good.
Did you get to meet them?
No, but I have in the past. I have in the
Oh,
past. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. They're so great. They're awesome crew. And or maybe like Phil Wickham. I love his songwriting too.
oh, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. You would definitely fit in with We the Kingdom. I feel like that would like tie into their style of music.
Oh, thanks.
Maybe
Thanks.
we'll have to like tag them into this clip and see if
Uh-oh.
get that out there. Like,
You're like, who's this girl?
and then they'll be like, "Who's Carrie?" Yeah.
What? No, no. Like this
Um,
is a rock star.
so let's talk about Power Again. What is this song about? What kind of led to the writing of this song?
Um, really, it kind of stemmed from that season of my life in college where I was just it kind of came right after when I was just really leaning into kind of rebuilding the foundation of my relationship with the Lord and just inviting his power back into my life. And really it's just a prayer of just inviting his power and his hand into my life and him directing my steps rather than me forging ahead and trying to carve it my own way. So really it's just kind of a prayer that inspired that.
Mm. Yeah, it's a beautiful song. I was listening to a lot of your stuff because we're going to be going into the game of Name Your Song. And
Uh-oh,
um,
uh-oh.
so I was listening to a lot of it, and it's just so beautiful and touching. And so if you haven't heard of Anna Pearson, you need to go check her out where all music is streamed, because it is definitely a blessing and will be a blessing to you. So we're gonna go into what we said, name your song.
I
And
will admit I did not watch this segment of the interview, so
oh, okay.
I'm like full on ready for this one. We get
Okay, good, good. Okay. So I'm gonna give you just like a line of
Mhm.
a lyric in your song, one of your songs, and then you have to give me the title of it as quick as you can.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
It's fragile and it breaks with just one wrong move.
Ooh, reflection.
Yes. Good
Nice.
job.
Mhm.
Come
I
on.
know my own lyrics. That's a
Now that we're years in, so much has changed since then.
oh, is that you?
No.
No, wait, that's just like that. That's just like that. Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. Wow, you went into the like Americana deep cuts
Is
over
that
there.
so? Is that about your husband or?
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of
Okay.
those on that EP, um, yeah, I think three of the four songs are about my husband. So
That's
he's
what I
like,
thought. I was like,
I need
oh,
royalties on those.
yeah. Um, because we don't need a plan when you take my hand.
Dancing in the Moonlight, I think.
Yeah.
That was that I wrote that song after they had these like big band dances in the summer in Nashville. And he and I, that was before we were married, but we had gone out and gone dancing at that little thing. So that was what inspired that song.
When I first saw that title, I thought it was that other song.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm not gonna sing it, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, and then I listened to it. I was like, oh no, that's not it.
A
Okay.
little different. A little
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
Okay, we got two more. You've got to fly like you've never seen the ground.
Fight for your life.
You're
That's
good at
my real
this.
like rootsy one. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fun one.
Last one. I need your hand to reach out and find me.
Power again.
Yeah, and look at that. You have the word find me in there. It's like a little
Yeah, wow, look at that. I didn't even know.
Taylor
I
Swift
mean, I meant to do that. I meant to do that, yeah.
Easter. Oh, yeah, that's funny. Oh, well, you did good. Hey, you're ready. So if
Thanks.
anyone
Thanks.
needs her to play this weekend, she is ready to.
Yeah, I'm fresh. I don't need that. What is that called? Confidence monitor where you have the lyrics in front of you.
Yeah.
Although whenever I write my set list on a piece of paper, you'll see like little scribbles of a word that if I'm trying to remember a lyric.
Oh,
So
really? Have you?
that was pretty good that I was remembering all this.
That is good. Have you forgotten your lyrics before on stage?
Um, I don't think I have. So that's what makes me, I got to keep up the streak, you know?
It's really common. So just so you know, to make you feel a little better, all of like the bigger ones that have been around for a while, they definitely have that. Well, this was so much fun. But so thank you for chatting with me. And it was just
Yeah, thank
nice
you.
meeting
Thanks for
you.
having
But before we go, I always like to ask what I and the people watching, how we can pray for you.
me. That's great. Um, I really appreciate that. And that just, yeah, thank you for serving just with your ministry of doing this, just in general. It's a beautiful thing and
Thank you.
letting people tell their stories and yeah. I don't know, I guess just a continuation of that, what we were talking about earlier, just making sure my priorities with my time are always in the right place and just praying for rest during seasons of when I'm just going, going, going. I know especially this next couple months, I've got a lot of stuff where it's great things and I'm really excited for it, but it's sometimes it's a lot and the Lord created rest for a reason. So I would just maybe say that. But thank you so much. That means so
Sure.
much.
Oh, of course. I love being able to share your guys' stories, and just thank you for being on here and being vulnerable and just sharing. And you just have such a sweet spirit about you, and your music is so touching. And being so young, I know you're going to reach a lot of that younger generation that we need to reach. So thank you for what you do and for your heart for Jesus. And So all of you make sure you go check out Anna Pearson. She has a new single, Power Again, out, and she's got a new one, Find Me, which the Easter egg is in Power Again. So just created that.
I didn't even realize it until today. That's so
Oh,
good. It's a great promo, like
yeah,
segue into
yeah,
this.
there you go.
Yeah.
But thank you all for watching Abundant TV, and until next time, carry on.